Fresh, factual, accurate, unbiased, concise, balanced on Midas Radio News. It's time to bring you stories that matter.
It's 1 o'clock. Good afternoon. I am Esther Isah with Beyond Nigeria on Midas Radio 90.5 FM, broadcasting live from Ado, Ekiti. Here are the top stories. NLC shuts down AEDC operations in Abuja, 3 other states over mass sack. U.S. freelance journalist gets abducted in Baghdad. India begins world's largest population census. Now the news in detail. The Nigeria Labour Congress has shut down the offices of Abuja Electricity Distribution in Abuja, Kogi, Nasarawa and Niger over the mass sacking of over 900 workers. This comes after the NLC, led by its president, Joe Ajero, picketed AEDC's headquarters over the controversial disengagement of nearly 900 workers. Ajero explained that the crisis dates back to months ago when AEDC management claimed the disengagement would affect only workers who had reached retirement age or were on the verge of retiring. The NLC chief said the reverse had been the case, as majority of those affected were not at retirement age and some had not spent up to 5 years in service. The union had yesterday issued a 48-hour ultimatum to AEDC management to resolve the matter or face escalated industrial action that could cripple electricity supply in the Federal Capital Territory and the 3 other states. Meanwhile, an Abuja High Court has vacated a bench warrant it issued for the arrest of the factional national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Kabiru Turaki, on March 26. Ruling Judge Peter Kekemeke vacated the arrest warrant while ruling on an oral application by Turaki's lawyer, Chris Uche, following his appearance in court. Uche, who apologized to the court for his absence on the last date, claimed he was out of the country and had just returned today, while also apologizing on behalf of Turaki, who he said is a senior advocate and would not be intentionally absent from court. Justice Kekemeke elected to pardon Turaki and proceeded to vacate the arrest warrant since his lawyer apologized for his absence, adjourning until April 22 for his arraignment on a 1-count charge brought against him by the Inspector General of Police. Beyond Nigeria, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said diplomats should use social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, to partner with military psychological operations units in an effort to counter foreign anti-American propaganda. In a statement, the State Department said it would continue to take an assertive stance on the pernicious issue and that it would use every tool in its diplomatic toolkit while also protecting Americans' rights to free expression. The department told diplomats to coordinate with interagency partners as appropriate, singling out the Pentagon's psychological operations, formerly known as military information support operations. Rubio also urged diplomats to elevate trustworthy information and expose fakes by making use of tools such as the commentary function on X as well as other artificial intelligence tools. In the meantime, U.S. President Donald Trump and his Secretary of State Marco Rubio have said the war on Iran might be drawing closer to an end, signaling potential direct talks with Tehran's leadership. Speaking with newsmen, Trump said the U.S. would be leaving Iran very soon, adding that successful diplomacy was not a prerequisite for the U.S. to end the operation against Iran.
To do is leave Iran, and we'll be doing that very soon, and it'll become tumbling down. I would say that within 2 weeks, maybe 3, we're hitting very hard. Last night we knocked out tremendous amounts of missile-making facilities.
The United States had previously threatened to intensify operations if Iran did not accept a 15-point U.S. ceasefire framework, demanding that it would not pursue nuclear weapons and fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The White House also said Trump would address the nation to provide an important update on Iran later in the day. In a separate development, an American freelance journalist identified as Shelley Kittel-Sen has been kidnapped in the Iraqi capital, Baghdad, and authorities have launched a search for her. The Iraqi Interior Ministry had initially confirmed her abduction, but did not disclose Kittel-Sen's nationality, which was later revealed by two police officials who refused to be named. The ministry said security forces had chased the reporter's abductors in a pursuit that resulted in one of the kidnappers' cars overturning and the arrest of one suspect, Kataib Hezbollah, who is linked to an Iran-backed militia. Assistant Secretary of State for Global Public Affairs in the U.S., Dylan Johnson, said Kittel-Sen had been previously warned of threats against her, adding that the FBI had been engaged to secure her release. Johnson reiterated that Americans are advised not to travel to Iraq for any reason. You are still listening to Beyond Nigeria on Midas Radio 90.5 FM at Do Ekiti.
Remember to protect the land of honor and integrity. Please visit www.midasradio905.fm for more information, and you can follow us across our social media platforms at Midas Radio 905 for regular updates. You can also download our app on Apple or Play Store for convenient access and your listening pleasure. Midas Radio cares about you, and we are committed to bringing you stories that matter.
Thanks for staying with us. Moving on to the rest of the news. In Europe, a Russian military transport plane has crashed into a cliff in the Crimean Peninsula, killing 29 persons on board. Russia's defense ministry, which said the crash might be due to a possible technical malfunction, said communication with the aircraft was lost at about the time it flew over Crimea, which is covered in sweeping mountains. The ministry reported that a search team discovered the site of the crash, finding 6 crew members and 23 passengers on board killed. The ministry said there was no external impact on the aircraft, implying that objects like missiles, drones, and birds were not involved. In another bit, Indonesia has called on the United Nations to investigate the deaths of 3 of its peacekeepers following Israeli strikes in southern Lebanon. In a statement, the ministry's UN representative, Omar Hadi, called for the inquiry during an emergency meeting of the Security Council. Hadi said Indonesia would not accept just excuses from Israel. The Indonesian peacekeepers were killed in 2 separate incidents in southern Lebanon after a bloody weekend in which Lebanese journalists and the medical personnel were also killed in Israeli strikes. Meanwhile, India has deployed more than 3 million officials to begin the world's largest national population count in a year-long process that could reshape welfare programs and political representation across the country. The census, which was delayed in parts by the COVID-19 pandemic, began today and will end by March 31 next year, while census workers will first spend about a month collecting information from homes and will document housing stock and living conditions. Information will be collected through an in-person surveys and online, allowing residents to use a smartphone application. A second phase of the counting will be conducted from September, during which more detailed information such as people's social and economic characteristics, including religion and caste, will be surveyed. Away from that, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has encouraged citizens to take public transport, warning that the economic shocks of the war in the Middle East would be felt for months. Albanese said this in a nationwide broadcast, stating that while Australia is not an active participant in the war, all Australians are paying higher prices because of it has brought about the biggest spike in petrol and diesel prices in history. The Prime Minister encouraged citizens to do their bit to ease pressure on fuel supplies, such as not stockpiling fuel ahead of the Easter holidays and taking public transport. Australia, which imports about 90% of its fuel, has seen petrol prices surge and experienced localized shortages as a result of the US-Israeli war on Iran and the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Finally, on sports, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, and the International Association Football Federation, FIFA, have hailed the Democratic Republic of Congo after they qualified for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The Congolese egged Jamaica 1-0 in their Intercontinental Playoff final, with Axel Tuanzebe proving to be the hero for the Leopards as they became the 10th team from Africa to qualify. DR Congo is now set to make their second appearance at the World Cup after 52 years. DR Congo had defeated Nigeria 4-3 via a penalty shootout to reach the Intercontinental Playoff final. That's beyond Nigeria this afternoon, but before we go, here is a recap of the major stories. We told you that the Nigeria Labour Congress has shut down the offices of Abuja Electricity Distribution in Abuja, Kogi, Nasarawa, and Niger over the mass sacking of over 900 workers. We informed you that an American freelance journalist identified as Shelley Kittelsen has been kidnapped in the Iraqi capital, Baghdad, and authorities have launched a search for her. Finally, Kema reports that India has deployed more than 3 million officials to begin the world's largest national population count in a year-long process that could reshape welfare programs and political representation across the country. That's Beyond Nigeria, as edited by Ayotunde Adebiyi. I am Esther Isah. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good afternoon and happy new month.